Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. Well, I'm still on vacation right now in my hotel room, so thought I'd just do a quick vid and do a couple responses here and there. Well, actually, I'm probably gonna actually upload at least two to maybe. I'm gonna try to get through 3 videos tonight, but if not, definitely gonna get 2 more out of the way, including this one. So it'll be a total of 3 videos, and again, possibly do 4. But anyways, I want to give a shout out to Kiwi Box. I saw this on his channel. Says here there's an article that was put out on Boxing Scene that the WBA is now working with the IBF to resolve this conflicting matter where when they first called on Anthony Joshua to go ahead and defend his title against Luis Ortiz. They have until, what, 30, almost 25 days from today, I believe, 25 to 22 days, something around that neighborhood, to come to an agreement, or it's going to go to a purse bid. Then the IBF also called out had ordered Joshua to defend his title, the IBF title, against PULEV. Now, Gilberto Mendoza, the president of the WBA, has came out and said, look, he also took a round of questions where he said that he's going to relocate his office in Panama to somewhere else in Central America, number 1. Number 2, he's also reiterated the fact that they are going to still implement a tournament where there's going to be 1 belt, 1 champion in every division, rather than have these multiple belts. So they're going to go ahead and continue that as schedule, or plan that as schedule, I should say. So in due time, the WBA regular and interim titles will disappear, and rightfully so, because we don't need those titles. And I hope the other sanctioned bodies can follow suit too, where they don't award any interim titles, or secondary titles, that is. So anyways, again, he's also said that he is working with the IBF, with Daryl Peoples and his crew, to try to resolve this matter, so that way that both Luis Ortiz and PULEV are not affected by it, and that, in other words, their camps are happy. Now, the good news is that they're not going to strip Anthony Joshua. That's a good thing on the WBA. Now, the IBF, it doesn't seem like they're not going to go that route either, so that is a good sign, because I don't want Anthony Joshua to be stripped of his titles, because as I said, I believe in a one division, 1 champion, where we have an undisputed champion that acknowledges that this guy is the champion. He is the number 1. He is the guy you have to beat. Okay? Not in terms of being a lineal champion is concerned, which I believe Anthony Joshua should get that recognition at some point, at some time. Like, say, if he does get into a unification about either Joseph Parker or Deontay Wilder, that's when the lineage will be awarded to whoever is the victor of either one of those unified fights that we'll see in a foreseeable future, whatnot. But anyhow, where was I? Damn, I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, so that's the good news. The good news is that both sanctioned bodies are not keen on stripping Joshua. But the bad news is the WBA situation with Ortiz's manager, particularly management, but in promotion with Dave Promotions, particularly Jay Jimenez. Now, the WBA is going to have to be careful here, because if they mess this up, if this is going to be a situation where the Luis Ortiz camp is not going to be happy about this, then they could be facing a litigation suit, because as you recall, Lucas Brown had filed a suit against the WBA for wrongfully, because he felt that he was wrongfully banned for a substance that he got caught for, which is Combuterol, which it is proven that could be used to contaminate foods or drinks or etc. etc. Of course, Lucas Brown got caught again using a different drug, but that's besides the point. But he took the WBA to court, filed a suit against him because he felt he was wrongfully banned for a substance that he had no control over when he fought Chagayev in Chechnya. Then you had the Fresno Okendo situation. I don't know what that situation is. I have to look into it a little further, where Fresno Okendo had filed a suit against the WBA for a certain grounds that he found that was illegal on his behalf. I don't know. I'll have to look into that further. But I think, yeah, as I said, the WBA is going to have to be more. They have to be very diligent. Have to be very diligent when they're dealing with this matter, particularly with the IBF. So, but like I said, the Ortiz camp, they're going to say, well, wait a minute. You know, how can you? Let's say the IBF does work. I mean, sorry. Let's say the WBA works out a deal where they will allow the IBF. Defense to go ahead of theirs, and they're going to say, well, wait a minute, you promised us along with the IBF initially that we will be the first in line for the title shot, not the IBF. What's going on here? Why are you flipping the script? So this is something they're going to have to be careful here, because Jimenez can bring that up. All right, so to me at this point, I don't care. I just don't want Anthony Joshua to be stripped. I want him to defend the titles against the best of his division, and of course, I have to bring the name up. I want Deontay Wilder to do the same. Yes, he has, he's been patting his resume by fighting lackluster opposition, even as champion. Okay, I get that. But Deontay Wilder is not the only champion who's done that before. If you go back, Carlos Monzon did it, when he piled up, fought loads of subpar opposition up to his 70th pro fight before he fought Hall of Fame middleweight champion Nino Beninudi. And then you had Salvador Sanchez, who did the same thing when he first tested himself against Danny Lopez, a great fighter, Danny Lopez, all-time great. It took him 36 pro fights before he finally got a crack at against better opposition in the featherweight division. And then you have the great Ulysses Chavez Sr., fought 44 pro fights and, regionally, padded his record until he finally stepped it up onto the world level. So, I mean, again, the difference is that those guys actually fought better opposition after they became champions. I get that. But the fact is that, yes, they also they also fought guys that, were matched opposition while they were reigning champions as well, just like Wilder. But the thing is that he's not the only guy that padded his resume before he became champion and fought overmatched opposition. I wouldn't say overmatched, but, guys who are not really considered great. But that's besides the point. The point is that here's what I suggest you do. And shout out to this thing should be handled. And shout out to Bo over there, Truth and Box Effects. We were discussing about this slightly in the comment section. He said, as I proposed that this whole thing could be resolved between Wilder and Joshua, is that they should draft an agreement where they get 2 inner fights in between each other. Where Wilder gets 2 inner fights and Joshua gets 2 inner fights with his mandatories. But nonetheless, just like how Ward and Kovalev did. However, Bo suggested that what Wilder should do is they could deal with Joshua. Say, you know what? I know you have that WBA mandatory. But what I should do, I'll take on Ortiz. Let me give him a title shot. You put in another voluntary, and I'll take on Ortiz, and I'll take on Dillian White, or Carlos Takam, whoever, or Dominic Brazil. I think that would be a great thing. I think that would be a good idea. And shout out to Bo, man, once again, for making that suggestion. So that would take the load off of Joshua, okay? All right. So, yeah, the expectations I expect for both these guys as champions are very high in my book, okay? When you're a title holder, I expect you to do these things, okay? I expect you to defend it against the best. Yes, there are going to be some situations you're going to take some soft touches as a champion. I get that. That happens. But, again, with this, when you're a title holder, you are viewed as a world champion. The standards are set very high for you. Again, that's my position on it, okay? So anyways, let's just hope that the WBA and the IBF works out the situation. So once it's confirmed, then yeah, everyone's happy, and Joshua gets to keep his titles, which I'll be very grateful for. And yeah, that's about it. Let me know what your thoughts about this. Let me know what you think the outcome is. You can, make your insinuations. That's cool. Just keep it respectful in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts about this. I'm out.